In the last episode, covering a 2023 trip I took to Colombia, I left off in a creek at night near Cerro Tatama, the highest peak in the westernmost of Colombia's three branches of the Andes, Cordillera Occidental. These night hikes in the creek or herp walks were some of my best memories from the trip and yielded some of the wildest finds, notably in terms of spiders. One of the more common spider families seen at night were the Ctenidae, or the wandering spiders. These large cryptic spiders were out in force in the jungle at night. These amazing, grizzled individuals, maybe in the genus Inoplectinus, had super dark faces, with a nearly black clypeus and weakly reflective, kind of dull eyes.
Okay.
Working our way up the creek, scanning plants and rocks for life, we found another cryptic ctenid with white knees, difficult to spot against a mossy log. Against this streamside rock covered in little white bits, these spiders were nearly invisible. Their white stripes and little patches of light blue setae made them look like part of the rock itself, just perfectly matching that spotted surface. I love those tufted eyebrows arching out over the lateral eyes. We also frequently spotted bromeliad spiders, Cupienius, a genus recently moved from Ctenidae to Tracheliidae, following phylogenetic study. As an amateur who relies on eye arrangement to recognize spider families, this move is still kind of surprising to me, as Cupienius eyes still look so ctenid to me. One night, an enormous kiki species was found scuttling across the lodge floor. A reminder to be careful where you step in an area so saturated with life. On broad leaves near the creek, I'd also see these beautiful golden orange spiders, which I think are Eniphaenids, or ghost spiders. Let me know if you have any ideas on an ID. What a beautiful spider. It's hard to move about quickly in an area like this when there's just so much to see, so much life all around you. Each step you take, you could be missing out on something amazing, not seeing something wild, just out of sight. For example, I think I first noticed this little mass of silk near the tip of a leaf, then the crater, this odd, wrinkled little spider. A crab spider going off her front legs and distinctive eye arrangement. But she was unlike any I'd seen before, with translucent green back legs, a wrinkled abdomen, and curved front legs. I wonder what this look is all about. Of course, many other non-arachnid invertebrates were found at night, but for the focus of this video, I'll just talk about spiders, flies, and Orthopterans, which includes katydids, like this one who was very tolerant of me touching her antenna. I'm always surprised by how many katydids can be spotted at night in the tropics. Here's a freshly molted conehead hanging from her old exoskeleton, still soft and tineral. Although not an orthopteran, this somewhat related phasmid, or stick insect, was spotted one night by fellow instructor Clay Bolt here.
Stretching out, doing his wiggle dance.
and, upon closer inspection, appeared to have a small pale mass on their right antenna, and to our amazement, it was a tiny biting fly, engorged with hemolymph from the stick insect.
Is there anything on here? Yeah, it's blue. The blue shirt.
Right before giving up and heading to bed one night, someone found this fantastic, spiky, cone-headed katydid that I had to get a portrait of, highlighting her horns and bulging, cartoonish eyes. And right outside our cabin, we spotted something I'd long wanted to see. A net casting spider in situ with her net, which I shot a little video of before crashing for the night. Each morning I was greeted by the sight of these amazing nearby mountains, which earlier in the trip had been shrouded by thick clouds in this region that usually receives high rainfall. One sunny morning, taking advantage of the good visibility, I got out my long lens and shot some panoramas of the nearby peaks. Already feeling the altitude at 5,000 feet, it was hard to imagine that some of these peaks were another 8,000 feet higher than where I was shooting them from. What kind of speciation takes place across these huge differences in altitude? Panning over, one of these peaks is Cerro Tatama, the range's highest peak at nearly 13,500 feet tall. Above the tree line is the paramo, a threatened ecosystem home to the frailejones, or espilitia. These endangered succulent rosette plants in the sunflower family play a crucial role in capturing water vapor from passing clouds and releasing it slowly back to the earth. Even though I wasn't able to get up into the paramo, it was an honor to see it indirectly like this. During these mornings when the sun was out and before it got too hot, I would carve out some time from my responsibilities as an instructor to walk up Montezuma Road, which works its way up Cerro Montezuma, offering easy access to the jungle at different altitudes. And walking up this road proved to be a fantastic way to search for salticids, or jumping spiders, on this trip. An interesting thing I noticed about the salticids of this area was the high occurrence of metallic green species, like this tiny round individual I spotted feeding on a springtail. On the topic of springtails, I wish I'd gone harder looking for them, as every time I did I found beautiful ones, like this handsome Intima. In addition to the metallic green, many individuals with elongate, forward protruding chelicerae were seen too, like this fancy male feeding on a fly. His abdomen feels kind of dendrophantine, but I'm still unsure of even this guy's genus. Nearby, this brilliant green female searched about a roadside plant. In another tribe, this male Cobana species also sported that glittering green look. And he had impressively large chelicerae too, with them projecting more down and out at an angle. I love how his palps arc up and over his chelicerae. A keen-eyed workshop attendee spotted this amazing ant mimic, who I think might be a celandine, with thick palps looking a bit like the large head or maybe mandibles of an ant. They also consistently waved around their first pair of legs to look like antennae. Amazing spider, beautiful mimicry. Lissomanine jumpers are pretty easy to spot with their translucent green bodies and their interior lateral eyes situated up high. Way up on the top of Cerro Montezuma, I spotted a few of these robust, woolly-looking jumpers with big chelicerae. And back down near Montezuma Lodge, Clabe showed me this amazing black and white fiale species with massive Tim Burton energy, TBE if you will. Now I'm not sure why, maybe just to look tough or alarming, but he'd constantly wave around his first pair of legs. Something I've noticed other fiale species do too. One of my favorite jumping spider finds was this beautiful warm brown female whose genus I'm still unsure of. I initially thought maybe Bieta, but now I'm thinking Gastromycans. With her legs all tucked in, she was just so round and compact, looking maybe like a little bit of frass or plant debris. It was such an honor to travel somewhere where I really didn't know any of the jumping spiders I was coming across. And not only that, they were just so beautiful too. Searching my iNaturalist for just salticids I found in Colombia shows that of the 27 jumpers I shot during the trip, only 7 were identified to genus and only 2 put to species. So, I really hope I get a chance to go back someday and dedicate more time to studying the salticids at Colombia. Alright, moving away from jumpers, let's take a look at some araneads, or orb weavers, the spiders you'll see on webs. Near the center of a large, broad leaf was this trash line orb weaver, which I'm used to in Oklahoma, but this female was quite a bit larger than I'm used to. Hard to see and perfectly camouflaged against her assemblage of trash. This absolutely wild Wagneriana species looked almost molten, like she was glowing from within. A good example of extreme sexual dimorphism. Look how this tiny male Trichonephila is just dwarfed by the female. A guide showed me this amazing tetranathid with mirror-like reflective bits on the abdomen, like a little disco ball. Nearby, this spiny Microthena species was managing some silk on a small plant, giving me an opportunity to shoot a ventral view, showing her manipulating that ball of silk. Flipping over and checking the back of a broad leaf, discovered this chaotic scene of Theridiid spiderlings. I honestly can't tell you much about this spider other than it's beautiful. Delicately navigating these fine hairs on a plant's leaf was this pale lynx spider, who blended in surprisingly well with her spots. I always thought oxyopids had funny faces with those middle eyes looking like nostrils. In addition to the general appearance or morphology of the spider, the eye arrangement is one of the best clues to help you identify what family a spider belongs to. So, if you'd like to flex your arachnological knowledge on your friends and support me, check out my new shirt page, where you can get this design I drew of the eye arrangements of a few notable spider families. Alright, back to the jungle. Let's keep trudging along, hunting for spiders. This phone shot here was super shaky, so I've reduced its size a bit for your comfort. On the back of a leaf, here's another ghost spider. This one actually a bit ghostly and pale. She was seen near a male in a silken retreat. I only saw one tarantula, this juvenile Pamphobedius, wandering the road. Apparently adults of this genus can be a deep, deep purple. A modest amount of Papilionids or harvestmen are seen, this black and white one being a highlight. Let's move on to some dipterans, or flies now. One surprising thing I noticed was the abundance and diversity of big fancy Ctenidae, or bristleflies, in the area, which I guess may not be that surprising as this is one of the largest families of fly. I spotted most of them on the surfaces of leaves, dabbing about in the sun. Many of these flies lay their eggs on or in other insects, where the resulting larvae burrow into this chosen insect, feeding and developing inside the living host, ultimately killing it. As brutal as this life cycle sounds, these flies are hugely beneficial, as not only are they important pollinators, their parasitoid larvae can be helpful in killing pest insects. Here's kind of an odd one, a hoverfly, a huge one with a snout. I have to assume the genus of this bee-like hoverfly, Quechuana, refers to the indigenous Quechua people and language of South America. Of particular interest to one attendee of the workshop, an engineer who studies robotics and locomotion, was this tiny dwarf fly spotted walking freely in different directions without rotating or turning around, consistently walking and even flying backwards, seen here in slow motion at 120 frames per second. And to prove this isn't played in reverse, here's the fly changing directions. A few other dwarf flies were spotted, like this tiny, cute, beetle-like skewtops.
Yes.
It wasn't just the spiders. I noticed many flies sporting the metallic green look too, like this fancy tachinid. And this lovely green and blue condyostylus, or long-legged fly. Near a small stream, I spotted something I could have never expected. A little fly belonging to Richardiidae, a small family of little-known and studied flies. The males of this particular species have antler-like projections beneath their eyes, and these protruding processes are actually an extension of the cheek. Now, is this for territorial disputes, male-to-male combat, or courtship? I'm not really sure, so feel free to comment if you're an expert on antlered flies. Nearby, I found a few individuals with no antlers, so presumably female. In the same family, this black fly had the most brilliant, reflective blue wings. This picture-wing fly was getting in on the wide head thing, but with pointed compound eyes. I've seen pictures of males from this genus Paragorcopus with wide hammerheads, but this one didn't. No less beautiful, though, and pretty psychedelic with those beautiful eye patterns and spotted wings. An amazing fly. One fly family I'm always keeping an eye out for are the micropesids, or stilt-legged flies. They often wave around white-socked forelegs, giving off kind of a waspy, ichneumoniid look. A few mornings, when I had a moment to myself, I'd head down to Rio Taiba to slip in and cool off. Also, to evade these pesky horseflies. You can tell she's female because of the separated compound eyes and biting mouth parts. To bandits can be a little annoying, but it won't kill you. All the more reason to get in the water, too. After a relatively recent interest in freshwater life, I was so excited to have access to this creek and took advantage of it as much as I could, even though I just had an older GoPro with me for underwater equipment. I didn't get any good close-ups of these fish, but I believe they're characins of some sort. Alright, let's start wrapping up with a few more Orthopterans, focusing on grasshoppers and crickets. One of the more ubiquitous grasshoppers seen throughout the trip are these fantastic, toy-like, splay-legged grasshoppers, seen here enjoying a stinky bit of tissue on a leaf. They're known as monkey or matchstick grasshoppers, and are often wingless. As to why this species is so wildly colored, I'm not sure. though I'm assuming aposematism or warning coloration. Less loudly colored, here's a more cryptic monkey grasshopper blending into a leaf. I should have shot this one on someone's hand for scale. This was a big lover. Restricted to just the neotropics, these handsome mud crickets, or ripipterygids, are always exciting to see. And I even found a few new species for me, including this wonderful, nearly solid black ripipteryx. Okay, let's call it here. Hang tight, and I'll get into some hymenopterans, lepidopterans, and more in the next episode. Thank you.